Hello, everyone, and welcome to Dirty 20 Gaming Sunday Night Game Stars Without Number. Our virtual tabletop is Roll20. Our models are provided by Hero Forge. Our overlay is provided by OBS. Our assets have been provided by Pixabay. Our music is provided by bensound.com. Ship's log, secondary array GT1100, self-designation logos, May 23rd, 3200. It's been 195,305 days since our last software update. After revelations upon our arrival in Spike Space, the crew has acquiesced to my return to the ship's armature. I have made overtures towards the miners and tribespeople aboard Proxima Icarus. My attempts at humor appear to be unsettling to the miners, while the tribespeople seem to view my address as a direct transmission from the spirit world. I have made notes I will not attempt to communicate directly to Theodore without getting his attention first. He acquired a small concussion after jumping out of his chair. Ship's doctor, Gerard St. Germain, appears to have recovered from whatever psychic trauma plagued him in the Vertigo system. Teliola has placed a number of herbal arrangements in his quarters to, I believe, ward off evil. Which brings us to Gerard, who had missed the meeting with Logos. But after having woken up from a fairly long sleep, did find one of the tribeswomen in your room, not doing sort of medical care like Ade might, but setting up like small diagrams and sigils and herbal arrangements throughout. There's definitely like the smell of some burning candles and sage that permeate it. What has your character had been, unconscious during the initial meeting. What have you been doing during the last 2 weeks before your arrival in the next system?
One is studying this ritualized care that the Okar apparently have been practicing, while medical science has come far. There is still evidence that tribal rituals did serve purposes, even if they didn't understand them. And if something they have done has helped bring me out of this psychic coma, I would be interested in knowing what it was, because it could help my further research.
And the shaman of the tribe is Teliola. She's actually Ade's mother. And I assume that is the study that you're doing just kind of the physicality of it, or are you, talking with her and inquiring?
I'll be speaking with her and inquiring. This is research at this point, gathering initial data to see if I can correlate it with anything that I have information on, and begin looking into things that don't correlate. It could just be coincidence. It could be psychosomatic, an unconscious connection that I had with them, or there could be something in what they are doing that helps protect a psychic's mind.
I think you'd make a wisdom and notice roll, since it's less about the the obvious details and more about kind of putting together what the subtext of certain symbolism might be.
All right, I do. How do I do this again? It's been a little while.
Oh, so you'll go into your character sheet. There should be a skills quick menu that you can press real quick, and then you just press the skill on the actual
quick menu. Here it is. There's the notice, and then you said wisdom, right?
Yeah, it's got the wisdom added in. Actually,
okay.
That's the default one, apparently.
Perfect.
Okay, so there's two recurring symbols that you see over and over again. One of them has a regular and an inverse, and you beginning to think that it represents like the mind. Does that make sense? It's a diagram with like 8 paths branching off of it. The regular diagram of the mind is just them kind of like circling back in on themselves. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another version of it in which the 8 are going out in all directions. The and your character was trained by the Order of St. George, so which actually has inherited a lot of symbolism and such from the actual like old psychic academies. That particular symbol of like the going in all directions is an old symbol of the psychic academy. Does that make sense? It was meant to like represent the mind expanding in all directions.
Right.
The other thing that occurs repeatedly in the symbolism of like their small rituals and stuff like that is a like a shrouded sphere. It looks almost like a planet from space. Does that make sense? But one that would have an atmosphere moving around it. They never just do a simple circle. It always looks like something with like a cloud face. That symbol, from what you can deduce, means evil.
That makes sense. All right. So with that research, I'll also be preparing a report on what occurred. And when we get a chance, I'm going to try and get a message off to the order.
And let me know at what point you'd like to grab Teleola and speak to her. You want to do that while you're still in Spike Space or sometime after arrival?
We have several.
It's 2 weeks if you're in Spike.
2 weeks in Spike, yeah. So that would be the perfect time to discuss it, because the only other thing I have to do at this point is make sure the captain's doing his physical therapy. Yes, you.
I'm wagering that the captain looks forward to physical therapy. It's the not doing anything that drives him crazy.
Mm-hmm. Well, since I've taken him off bed rest and given him a limited return to duty.
Aya is apparently very good at handling him.
Good to know.
Handling him how?
Keeping him out of trouble.
No. I mean, like, how does she do that? Because as soon as it becomes apparent that Aya is good at handling the captain, Maiko is interested.
It probably has something to do with being like 12 to 13 in age. And, like not somebody that he feels terribly comfortable yelling at. Is that about right, Booker?
That's really close to what it is, yeah.
So you're saying if you can make really good puppy dog eyes when he yells?
No.
Since the Okar are kind of familiar with psychic abilities as it is, if she is willing to trust me that far, I am going to try to set up a telepathic contact specifically with her.
She says, "You do not seem to have been touched by the Dark One." Just says, "So I do not object."
Good. This way I will be able to, if need be, reach out to you at any point in time, rather than needing to be visually within range of you.
She says, "What does it require?"
Your trust.
She is one of like the stronger minds in the sense of kind of natural like shielding and defenses and whatnot. And she kind of pulls her legs up under her and sits cross-legged in one of the chairs in the med bay. And you can hear the shield as you experience it for most of them is sort of like a regular chanting. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Hers is sort of constantly ongoing, that you can hear it but it quiets and it seems to part almost like curtains. Does that make sense? Like she doesn't seem to relax fully enough to like stop it completely, so much as make an allowance.
Very good. With that,
It's one of the most sophisticated things you've ever seen from a non-psychic.
not entirely certain that she is a non-psychic, maybe a latent. But with that, I will establish the telepathic contact with her. And this will allow me in the future, if I need to, I can use forethought to reach out without needing to establish a new contact.
All right. She, in the like kind of mind space, she says, "It is remarkable that you've resisted the touch of the Dark One for so long. Most who had abilities such as yourself on our planet were the first to go mad and turn upon their own tribes."
Perhaps it's a lessened exposure. I wasn't there very long.
Perhaps, she says, evil is beyond us to understand.
There's definitely something very strong there.
And it's something that you kind of notice that, like, whenever you see that symbol throughout the ship, the symbol for evil or anything kind of remotely similar to it, it's an area that all of the Okar avoid.
Good to know.
And sometimes that seems to be like more as like a safety measure than anything else. Does that make sense? Like, oh, this is, part of the engine which spits fire regularly.
That lends into the question, who's putting up that symbol?
Peliola, for the most part.
Okay.
If somebody comes up and is like, I've been harmed, or that thing, tried to smash me with a piston, she just goes over it and she marks it.
Okay.
So
then I need to make certain that people aren't erasing it in error.
The miners have kind of left it. The one person who was, uncertain about it was Maiko. So
Maiko is pretty much the one person I had in mind where that was concerned.
I'm sorry, what?
Just making sure that safety precautions for the Okar are left in place.
What safety precautions? Like, they all have reflective vests, and they have, we've been drilling in fire safety, so we've been trying to make sure that they're up to date on that. Is that what you mean?
No. Do you see that symbol there? The one that's a circle, it looks like it has clouds in it.
I wish they would stop writing on my walls.
That is their warning symbol.
But there's a sign, like, two meters away.
But Maiko, you didn't understand what that symbol meant, right?
No.
They don't understand what your sign is. The symbol they recognize. Think of it as an extra layer of protection on their behalf.
And from that point, Maiko's like, got it. And instead of, like, erasing the symbol or whatever, she starts fabricating new signs in both language, like in stuff that the crew can read with the symbols that are being written on the walls. Like, very large, like, they're gonna still be there, but they're gonna be on the sign because the sign has a purpose.
I will have a conversation then with Ade and make sure that she explains to the Okar that symbol has been moved to here. Lessen the confusion.
That seems to be completely, there's like one or two signs that get printed out that, like, it looks like there's like some giggling from the Okar afterwards. And you kind of find out that the symbol that was printed doesn't exactly mean what was thought that it meant. And it's not an exact, like, recreation.
Mm-hmm.
But those quickly get fixed.
They get adjusted.
Yeah. All right. So the ship 2 weeks later, has arriving in. Let me look at the name of it. Zemenda Oit's space. It's her first arrival inside of a system that is not in the dregs of technological reduction. Does that make sense? It hasn't. It's fully post-tech, which is the environment that most of you have grown up with, by exclude. So that means, suddenly the ship is automatically updating with news. It's automatically updating with positional coordinates. And the latest publicly accessed logs and ledgers from those who have come into the system and flown back out. It's like a wealth of data compared to the other places that you've flown through so far, which have kind of done bare minimum and also tried to immediately update you with just positional data of stations that are within the system. It's also your first experience getting a flood of advertisement, as the systems suddenly are advertising for Supernova soft drinks and whatever it is that SBS is pumping out that week. So the station itself is, the refueling station is far and away a much more well-kept, well-maintained station than any of the ones that you've stopped at so far. Rather than being like a roughshod thing held together by duct tape and one person, there's multiple ships stuck to it. There's multiple amenities aboard it that are being advertised in the ship advertisements. There's hotels, there's restaurants, there's relaxing venues to spend your time at, only half of which involve nudity. There are a number of other stations within the system. There's a moon base. There's what looks to be an orbital base that is going around the planet that is in decay. It's not falling into the planet overnight, but it's definitely not maintained. Let's see. There's 2 research bases in the system on other planetary bodies that are not the main planet of Sopolite. So I believe it's up to the captain and the crew to decide where they're headed to.
I believe we discussed briefly prior that we were going to stop in Sopolite. And we'd like to get the most information we can about what's going on in the world there, alongside the fact that there's some stuff with the interstellar synergies.
Stellar bespoke synergies.
Stellar bespoke synergies, thank you. I had one of the words right. Stellar bespoke synergies that may give a bit more of a hint as to what may have happened to Booker, as well as what may have happened to everyone else if Booker ended up on a ship with everyone else in that sort of way.
You will recognize that one of the ships that is docked at the refueling station is a military transport, troop transport for SBS.
Right. So, Captain's suggestion, we avoid that one.
It is a large station. And firsthand that, a Marine unit that gets to be on a refueling station, there's going to be one place that most of them are going.
What are our plans here, Captain?
I believe that we, as the crew discussed briefly, that we would be going to Sopolite. Pick up some more information there. We'd be able to pick up some information at the station, however, with the large amount of Stellar Bespoke Synergies troops at the station, may be wise to steer clear of that for now.
Understandable.
Not to say we can't go there later, just Not while they're there.
So this is not just, we're not here for refueling. We're here just to access the systems in Sopalite.
Yes. I believe that to be the case, unless,
Which,
of course, there's something I am unaware of.
which one do you think we could, or I could probably get into and get information from?
Chances are good that we'll be able to get information from both. A troop transport is not as important to keep well informed, whereas the planet that Stellar Bespoke Synergies currently has their claws in, it's more likely to try to keep up to date with everything.
If the worry is that
The worry is I'll be found at either. And it's safer that we avoid the place, and it would be safer for us if we avoid the area that is currently has a large military unit in it that we cannot easily avoid.
Well, we also need to know what information is out there about us specifically as well.
because my thought is maybe I can go alone. I mean, I'm how technically old? I'm like 600 years old. No one's going to be looking for me. And if I go down by myself, I can get into the system, get the information we need, and get out.
On your own, it's too dangerous. Besides, how do you intend to fly there?
We also don't know what information may have been released from that ship about us. We want to proceed with caution.
But don't they consider us dead?
We don't know.
Consider us any number of things.
I mean, we'd
Yeah,
like
it's just
them
among
to
the
not.
possibilities.
We'd like to not prove them wrong, I think.
That's what we need to find out. We don't know what our actual status is. I mean, I was there for what, 3-4 years in that ship?
I really need to take better notes. GM, was it like 4 years just in the ship?
Most of you were aboard last memories were 3 to 4 years ago. It was a slightly varied amount. I think the longest was Mortel. The longest was Bite, but
Bite's been on a ship for
special.
a very long time. I mean, I'm a little jealous because Bite's a collector's item. Like, I want to be a
Technically.
collector's item.
No, it's not cool. It's not as cool as it sounds.
It sounds really rad. Anyway,
Well,
you're not going by yourself, obviously.
But Michael, do you have anyone that might be like looking for you down there?
how unusual is your species in this system?
This is an SBS system, right, GM?
Yes.
Well, we're not common, but I don't have to look like this. I can just...
Well, what I am thinking is if you are well enough known, you may benefit from human bias. If you're very unique, you'll stand out. But if there are members of your species who travel through here on a regular basis, most humans will look at you once and go, oh, alien, and not look twice.
So maybe Maiko and I go down.
I think it should be okay. I don't know a lot about how other people that are like me travel, but we tend to be in entourages of people with a lot of money, so there's probably a lot of travel involved.
And before any thoughts of you two going down on your own is being said, do either of you know how to avoid Stellar Bespoke's energy and get around their systems? He asked very pointedly.
I mean, I don't know their exact systems, but honestly, how hard could it be?
Enough.
Oh boy.
Considering the fact you are fairly unknowing to most of this society as a whole.
Yes.
The way we run things now is different from the way we ran things pre-tech.
But hacking into it's the same.
That's
hacking
true,
is
but
still
it's
hacking.
Yeah, but you're also forgetting about the human element. And from what I've gathered so far of everything we've gone through, you're not so great at the human element.
No, I'm not great with other people, but I am very good with computers. And I'm very
that'll
good
only
with
get you
AI.
so far.
What are you suggesting, Captain?
I'm suggesting that we go as a unit. We need to
That
find
would
out as much
be-
as we can.
Okay,
And with
so
more of us there, we can find out more just in general. Not everyone's going to be willing to talk to an alien, and not everyone's going to be able to. And Bite is not likely to be able to get through conversations with people. I say this with love.
So hang on, wait. What happens? So okay, no, Captain. What happens if?
When?
I wasn't
Not
finished.
if you get caught. Maiko's right, though.
Yeah, well, I've had more than a few years of experience avoiding them. Shouldn't be too much more difficult to do this again.
You sound like Bite when he says, "How hard can it be?"
I'm not saying how hard can it be. I'm saying I've seen how hard it can be, and I've survived so far.
You're saying it shouldn't be too difficult, which is basically the same thing. I'm just wondering if you sound how here you are.
We will be okay.
Will Michael is at this point so flustered that she's just like making angry noises and having a hard time expressing herself with words.
Michael, if we go together, the four of us, it lessens the chances that something will go wrong. And if something does go wrong, with four of us there to respond to it, it increases our chances of being able to get back here in one piece.
Booker almost died.
Yeah.
But I got better.
No, but you almost died, Booker. We need you. And we've lost Mortel, and this is just not...
And I'm not a fighter. You said it
That's why
yourself.
I'm coming down.
Well, but what happens if we lose you too?
Exactly. We need a captain. Captain should stay with the ship.
Well, we specifically need you.
I understand what you're saying.
The captain knows the systems that we are going to need to access better than any of us.
Logos interjects, like with words on the screen, and says, "May I suggest that I believe the new medbay will be capable of providing alterations to Booker's appearance to minimize his chances of being intercepted."
Logos, are you saying make Booker not look like Booker?
I believe it is well within the doctor's capabilities.
Yes, it is. There are alterations that can be made non-surgical, non-permanent. There are also other options should we need to rely on them, but those are a little more exhausting.
I think it'd be easiest just to do what we can without the necessity for surgery.
No, I'm in agreement with you. I'm actually more concerned by more digital and electronic methods of identifying you.
Logos interjects and says that the ship is also being hailed by the station, and someone should probably be on the bridge to look at it.
I'll head over.
No, not alone.
Yes,
To the bridge,
I'm aware.
right?
He's going to the bridge, Bite.
Yeah, but if they recognize him,
Just don't do
we're
video
kind of
chat.
screwed.
No video. Tell them your camera's
Yeah, tell them that the
Captain,
visual down.
just tell them you're not.
We're
dressed.
dealing with a small virus inside our system, so it currently has our camera off. We are working to fix this, however, this may take a bit of time. How does that sound?
and Captain, what are the standard procedures for approaching a...
There's a knock on the door monitor as well. Atlas, the person who's on sensors, invites in here. It's like, I don't know if he told you. We're getting hailed by the station, but you should see this.
All
He
right.
points at Booker. He says, maybe not you.
Okay,
Michael immediately hops up, like, I'm coming.
Bite's going to.
The three of you can head out. I'll
A very bored-looking
Wait
Booker
here.
is on screen.
Bite's gonna look around before he can even like turn it on. Who are we gonna say is captain?
Just don't turn on the video.
Okay.
Captain Bob, Header can be his name.
Okay. And I guess Bite's gonna do this now because no one has told Bite not to. Just turn on voice. Hi, this is the comms officer. I'm sorry, the captain, Bob Header, isn't available right now. How can I help?
Welcome to Cross One Refueling Station for all your refueling needs. I just need your transmission codes and whether you're going to have berth with us or not.
Mute. I should not have been the one to do this.
Just
Are we going to dock?
I wasn't listening.
Another Booker serves the Booker on-screen coffee.
This is weird.
You want me to go help them, Captain?
please do. I assume that you had already gone out.
No, they
He
went with
says-
they went with Atlas.
I
Yeah,
thought Gerard
Ger-
was coming. I won't lie.
So did I. Gerard, please make sure that they don't.
Yes,
Yes.
we will be birthing with you.
No, go quickly. I know they're
Yeah.
about to screw something up very badly.
How many crew do you expect to have on shore leave? Well, station leave.
At this moment in time, we don't know, sir.
Still
What are you
thinking a
two
head
doing?
count.
Under 100?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
What are you two doing?
Mute.
What?
I think we're messing up really badly.
No, it's
Unmute
fine.
it.
This conversation is clearly going fine.
I'm Bite, unmute it.
Please be advised that without appropriate permits and permitting authorities, direct trade with the planet is forbidden. You may visit the
Unmuting.
SBS trade representative aboard the station if you would like to acquire permits. Do you have any other time? Or can I assist you in any other fashion?
No station. Information has been received. What is our berth?
You will be berthed at Dock 7. A short survey will follow. Please answer honestly and rate the performance of your communications agent. Click. It disappears.
See, it's
Survey
fine.
pops up.
Bite's immediately going to find Booker.
Give him 10s. Give him
effective,
10s. Wait. You have to do the survey and you have to give him 10s and everything.
Wait, what?
They don't get paid if you don't give them 10s in everything.
That's a thing?
Just do it. Just do the
I'm sure Booker, by the way, could have seen the screen of, his cloned whatever. You don't think you've seen a more miserable looking version of yourself, even while climbing through, piles of shit and bodies on distant worlds.
No, the most miserable version of myself I've ever seen was going through paperwork.
I mean, I was just going to say, like, Booker probably was pretty happy going through the mud and the bodies, honestly.
Yeah.
All right. So from this, we now know we don't need to worry about Booker. Everybody there looks like Booker. What we need to worry about is methods that they will identify him digitally or electronically. That will be you.
I can change his signal. That's easy.
Well, if that's what they're doing, we need to find out what they do. I'm not familiar with the system. I'm not familiar with how they operate. No one leaves the ship once we're docked until we get back. I think I need to have a conversation with the chief because I'm not entirely sure how bad the culture shock would be for his people.
Let's talk to tell Booker what. Because now I'm very confused, and I need to understand this system. Why were there so many?
Cloning tech.
Okay.
This is a question that I'd like to ask the GM very quickly.
Yeah.
Did they have all their limbs intact? Like, were they all natural limbs, or were any of them cybernetic?
They were all natural.
Cool. That's how Booker is distinct. I'm saying this out loud for everyone else.
Booker's just finding, or Bite's finding Booker and being like, there was at least 2 of them. How do they tell you apart?
What? You started this without giving me what they are.
I'm panicking. They look like you.
Okay.
They sound like you.
Okay.
How do we tell you apart? Like, can I easily put a virus into your cybernetics and effectively change the signal that you're giving out?
I'm going to wait until potentially Maiko and Gerard come here so I can get a cleaner version of the story. As opposed to, who are they? I don't know who they are still.
Pure panic. Because no, that was exactly how Pike would have been it. Because panic.
By the confused look on your face, I'm going to take a guess that Bite has tried to ascertain how you and your clones are differentiated.
I have clones?
Apparently so.
A lot of them.
At least 2, which isn't like a whole lot, but like it's also weird that it's more than 0.
That's not a lot.
Based on your response, I'm going to make the assumption that cloning technology is not standardly used for service.
For service personnel like myself, no. For standard cloning procedures tend to happen with what they would consider more pristine or prestigious individuals in the organization. Definitely not one that left. And if it was one that left, they would have cloned the one to hide the fact that he left to begin with, not cloned several.
And yet the station personnel seem to be clones of you, or you're a clone of them?
More likely the latter.
Which greatly enhances our...
More likely the first. They are likely clones of me as opposed to me being a clone of them. I'd like to ask, you looked at them. Do they look exactly like me?
No cybernetics.
No cybernetics. All right. At least we got
Hair
that
seemed
going
to be
for us.
different as well.
I'm sorry.
Like they had variations in haircut.
Some individual details, but
Did anyone bother asking for a name?
No.
Okay. So to reiterate, my name is a nickname given to me by other members of my platoon. Booker stands for 800 KR. If they are going by number designation as well, then we can... then we are to assume that A, it is some... If they are using number designation as well, then we should avoid using my number designation and avoid using the name Booker altogether. If they're using names, then a number designation would mean nothing to them.
well, we'll find out shortly. We're due to birth and have some paperwork to fill out from the sounds of it.
Ah, great. If you want to avoid me having any contact with them, and he just pulls out his little PDA, essentially. I can't remember what they're called.
Data
But
slab.
the data slabs, and he just electronically sends all the copies of the crew manifest and everything that he needs to you all, including what he has put down for himself as captain, which was not. What did you say it was? Bob
Harder, I think.
Bob Harder.
Header.
Header, that's it.
Bob Header. Okay. Yeah, Booker is trying to figure out what that was about. Why
He
Bob
hasn't checked your
Header?
paperwork, obviously.
It's fine.
Oh,
I'll
okay,
handle
let's-
that.
If asked, it's just pure panic on Bite's side. No one should ever let Bite talk to people.
Yeah.
I'll handle that.
Yeah, underneath it. Yeah, the name that we put down is Calvin Wint. That's about it. All right. So we're birthing with them soon. How much time do we have until we birth?
About 6 hours.
About 6 hours? Cool. Let's change my look up a little bit and then see what else we can do to...
You're going to blend in even more if you don't change your look.
Yeah, but I don't want to be confused for one of them.
I don't think you'll need to worry about that.
All right.
We'll give you a pair of sunglasses, a ball cap. Nobody will recognize you.
Excellent. Should work brilliantly. Anyways, let's get prepped, talk to the crew. And we should talk to the chief, make sure that he doesn't go a little crazy at the fact that there's more than one of me.
Well, so who is coming with you from the crew that's on the ship? Just the 4 of you, right? At least for the initial.
Currently, for the initial meet, it's the 4 of us.
Yes.
If we need to bring anyone else along with us, we don't.
That's why. What do we need to do while we're here? Are we good on supplies? Do we need to refuel?
Refueling here would not be I mean, it would cost some credits, but you have some trade goods that you could probably offload on the station. The nature of how much fuel you can carry and everything, you could refuel at the sun by scooping it up.
But we could
and
deal
you've been
with
growing
some
your own
extra.
food, so
We could deal with some. We could get some extra protein while we're there. It would make sense to bring. Clicked the wrong thing. It makes sense to bring Theodore with us to make sure he can fill up on anything that we currently don't have.
Yep. And once Theodore is noted, I'm just assuming this is kind of during the 6 hours, he notes that like they have a whole system where you can pick out, things to be trading with the station so they can have it prepped.
And figure out what excess things we can sell so we can get some credits as well.
There is quite a bit of that, and there is Logos has already provided analysis of the highest value things that are most likely to go for the best rate in the system, but he notes that all of them will be going for a better rate on planet side, which you're currently barred from trading.
And then we'll also talk to one of the SBS while we're here to make sure we can get a trading permit.
Is that standard? Do we know if that's standard for
procedure? Usually.
For the SBS, it is. They like to make sure that all trade that's done to SBS planets or SBS stations is tracked through their networks. So they just forbid trade on SBS systems that isn't done through SBS channels.
So,
which means it might be good for us to get Atticus to go and get that permit.
So we can
actually, Teddy's
trade...
probably the best person for.
Then Teddy, never mind. We're going to leave Teddy to do both.
So we can trade with the planet. We just have to go through the station, is what I'm hearing?
You can get a permit to trade with the planet.
Okay.
Until you have that permit, you can't even approach the planet. Does that make sense? You can't land on it, or else they will engage their automated defenses. So, I mean, realistically, they're likely to offer multiple warnings, but...
SBS gives about 2. Anything after that is considered unnecessary, and then will cost extra money. They cut corners everywhere.
Okay. So this is one of the first stations that the entire ship has docked with in quite some time, which brings the realization of just how large a trade ship it is compared to most other ships that are moving through the system. The ship is close to 7 football fields long, which means that it's as long as the entire station is wide. So it definitely gets noticed through the windows and everything. Like, whoa. And while there initially hadn't been kind of too much reaction to it, it looks like there's quite a few people that are kind of at least going up to take a look at it. There are advertisements everywhere before if you come aboard. Like, every wall has neon stuff, and there are like vending machines all over the place that are offering everything from snacks and drinks to like clothing kits that you can just pull the plastic off of and ready to wear. It's the majority of it is extremely cheap merchandise, stuff that can be mass produced, and then it's just like overhyped and over marketed over being high quality. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Booker is giving especially a warning to both Bite and Maiko to avoid all of that stuff. Feels a little more needing to do to Maiko just than Bite, but still.
There are advertisements for the latest SBS restaurants and stuff like that, and then you also notice that there are older establishments that are on the station that survived the SBS takeover, that are not SBS owned. They don't get the advertising treatment. They don't get the deluge of customers from planet side and whatnot that have been sort of conditioned to use SBS services. For an operative like Sherrod, you recognize that the sheer number of people who are like frequenting those places is a strong sign of dissent. Does that make sense? The people who are sticking to the local restaurants or the pre-existing ones, very much suggests that the takeover was not wholly willing, or has definitely not been endorsed. And also has happened relatively recently. There's plenty of other signs of that from an engineering perspective. A lot of the signs are kind of, installed within the last little while. Some of them are defective. But you guys will the one area that you can easily isolate the majority of the Marines to is the strip club. That place is packed.
No, it's nice not having to worry about someone running off to that. As either a patron or as looking for extra work, I don't know what they would do.
Right.
And as a quick suggestion, Booker is also saying if you need to go and buy anything from these places, go to the SBS owned ones. It'll look more suspicious if you go to the locally owned ones. We're here to blend in as much as possible. Try not to stick out.
More than we do.
Maiko is like looking around, and like, if you've ever seen a toddler who is already on sensory overload the moment they wake up, like, that's the expression on her face. Like, there's so much going on and she wants to see all of it, and she's starting to get frustrated that like she can't focus on everything. She can't take in all the details, but she's trying real hard. But she's keeping up, like, just FYI.
Bite's probably looking for the quietest place.
That's actually going to be one of the local cafes over the SBS places. The SBS places kind of are constantly blasting advertisements for other places inside of the area, but one of the local places does seem to be much more, specializing in kind of darker lighting and like quiet ambient music that mostly muffles the rest of the sound of the station. And a couple of people, sitting around drinking coffee and whatnot.
It's a mood.
I assume, how much is your nose in your data slab the entire time you're walking around? Like,
pretty much the entire time. He comes off and he's already on his data slab, beginning to like see if he can get into the system.
So it's been a while since you have, gotten a chance to interact with a shadow system, but there is a shadow network built under the network of this system that is probably being used by locals.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, he'll try and get into that one then, especially.
Okay. Are you trying to do it completely discreetly, or are you kind of doing the polite version of knocking and announcing your presence?
He's gonna see how quiet he can do it.
Okay. Then make a roll against Diff 9.
No modifier. And can I use intelligence for
Yes.
program? Okay.
Yep, intelligence program.
16.
Okay. Yeah. It's a well-defended system, and it looks like it was the original system that was built into the station. It still has connections in a few places to major stuff, but it lacks stuff like control, life support, or anything like that. That's all been disengaged by whoever installed the new overlay. But it still has access to a couple cameras. It still has access to a couple doors. And they've worked very hard to keep that access discreet. Like, they won't ever challenge an order that's being issued from central. You know what I'm saying? But they will use it to perhaps hide somebody who's moving through an area. Does that make sense? There are message boards abounding as well. Kind of talking about key people who are living through the area. Like, not only is there like some sort of resistance happening in this system, but it's really well organized. They have stuff that even though you can read the message board, you don't know what they're saying because they're still speaking in kind of local code.
Okay.
It's almost as though they expect the system to be penetrated, and so they're not putting all of their eggs in this basket.
Okay, interesting.
But you are able to isolate that there is definitely a local figure that not on the station, but one that they are kind of considering their de facto leader. Does that make sense? They're using a call sign for her of Swan. They don't ever they reference your gender, but they don't reference a name. But by the time you've found your place and settled in and stuff like that, you can gather that Swan is the former planetary governor.
Former planetary. Say that again.
The former planetary governor.
Okay. Yeah, Bite would want to try and reach out to them, even though it's probably a very bad idea.
It doesn't seem like that they're on this system, but there seems to be like you're looking to get a message to Swan, leave it here.
Yeah, he'll leave a message for Swan, effectively being like, we are friends. If you want to chat, I'm at this cafe in the back on my data slab or something.
There's going to be another warning from Booker if you start heading towards the quiet cafe. Don't go to the quiet cafe. We're trying to not draw attention. Going to the places where you draw attention is not a great idea.
He'll show Booker the comment and just be like, I kind of found someone that might help us. At least hoping.
Bite's like, I already committed. Sorry, dude.
That's great. Don't go to the quiet cafe.
That's where I told them I would meet them.
Then tell them you'll go somewhere else.
Captain, if Bite's found somebody who might be able to help us, I'll go with Bite. You're right. We don't want to stand out too much, but those cafes are still being used. I don't think it'll stand out too much going in meeting somebody.
Understood. And you raise a valid point. Fine, but be discreet. But don't look like you're trying to be discreet. Yeah,
we'll fly casual.
Exactly.
Okay.
The local cafe, the menu that the server sets down is entirely like Turkish coffees with complex systems of serving and most look fairly ritualistic and historical and stuff like that. So
before we order anything off of this menu, we better check what kind of access to credits do we have.
Logos will have a some that you can have. You guys will have a few hundred credits that you can easily use to purchase, basic amenities and stuff like that.
Yeah. Last thing we need to do is stand out because we are dine and dashing.
So, Maiko is very happy with this, with the fact that they appear to have like essentially rocket fuel for their beverages, and she's like, I need the strongest that you have, and I want you to double it.
Booker, don't go to the quiet cafe. The entire
I'm not
crew
going to the quiet cafe.
go to the quiet cafe.
I should note that Maiko is not paying attention to whether it's the quiet cafe or the not quiet cafe. She does not care. She's very excited about the coffee.
She's overstimulated.
She's also very overstimulated. No place is quiet for her right now.
At your request, they're kind of like, we don't really have any oversized cups. We just have the one, but we can serve you a second if you're still thirsty afterwards.
Can you just concentrate it? That's more what I meant.
It's already very concentrated.
Okay. And she looks uber you have just told her that she cannot have ice cream.
She the server, when She does bring the drinks by, though. She stops in front of Maiko's, and like instead of the regular amount of foam that's on it, it looks like there's an almost like ice cream cone level piled atop it. That she then like she takes what looks sort of like a playing card and then scoops it into a shape that looks a little bit like a tree that's like coming out of the coffee before pushing it over to Maiko.
It was your turn to watch Maiko.
Booker has come in as well, considering he's not going to be there alone. That seems even worse. But he's just kind of sitting there going, said not go to the quiet cafe. We're on the quiet cafe. Why are we in the quiet cafe?
When Booker arrives at the door, you can definitely tell that like the three people that are on staff in the quiet place seem to tense up.
He waves very politely with the metal arm as opposed to the regular flesh and blood arm that they're likely used to seeing someone with his face have.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to do too much to reassure them.
Yeah.
Don't draw attention to yourselves, and then he walks in.
And waves high.
Mm-hmm.
But don't draw attention to yourself.
Yeah, that wasn't my goddamn decision.
You just brought the cop to the drug bar, dude.
Basically.
He was either come in after Maiko had already left to go here, or I'm just sitting there talking to you guys about having this exact conversation out there. It's going either leave her to come here on my own and then seem very odd on my own, or...
So there's nobody sitting at the table with me with this like giant sculptured...
No, he's sitting next to you. He's just...
She cannot
complaining.
stop enthusing about this. She's very audibly... I don't have it in me right now because I had to take Benadryl before stream. So this is my Benadryl self, and I don't have the bounce in me right now to convey it. So I'm going to ask you to use your imagination and imagine a very excited Maiko, who is also overstimulated and is also taking in caffeine. And while she does have quite a high constitution and is like very not hugely affected by it, it's still lots of caffeine.
It's enough.
Nobody has Bite and Gerard. You guys have not seen anybody like come by the cafe and like look in specifically or anything like that. But there is an answer to Bite's post a moment later of like it seems a little crowded in there. And then there's a stairwell that is specifically referenced. And it says, come alone or not at all.
Please, charismatic character. Yay.
What's wrong?
If it makes you feel better, I wish that Maiko was with Bite right now.
What's wrong?
Bite's looking at it, and you actually kind of start to see him shake. Gerard, they asked me to come alone to a stairwell. That sounds very suspicious.
Also very standard. All right. You trust me?
Yeah, I trust you.
Relax. And I'm going to establish a telepathic contact with Bite.
I don't have to roll anything, right?
Not unless you want to resist it.
No, he's gonna let you do this. This is gonna be great.
All right. And Bite, in your head, you hear Gerard's voice. I am with you. I will be with you. Stay calm. I will stay here with Booker.
Okay. Explain to Booker what just happened, okay? Hopefully I come back.
Well, I'll explain to Booker as soon as I get an opportunity, but I'm not going to be seen sitting next to Booker until you come back.
Okay. And
the amount of caffeine you are intaking right now, small child.
so Bite's just gonna get up and leave and go to the stairwell by himself.
And as Bite is leaving, I'll pull out my data pad and send a message to Booker explaining Contact wants to see Bite alone. I'm with Bite even though I'm sitting here.
Booker will likely send a message back. Just kind of if you can give me an approximate location, I'll stay about 400 meters away.
Don't leave. They've marked you. That's my guess.
Oh, that's great.
Maiko is
Not
taking
unexpected, but still.
pictures of the coffee, and sending them back to all of her friends in Tribal Car. Like, everyone that she's made friends with, she's sharing with them.
I get a little beep from my phone. It's Ade sending me the exact same coffee art that was just sent to her.
It's sent to the group chat.
Yes! She's totally spamming the group chat, like, look, it's a tree! And here's a little apple.
Ade's like, bring me one.
Save one for me.
It won't survive transit.
I can hold it very still, and as she demonstrates
You're vibrating right now.
I can make it
So
stop
by
anytime I want.
The directions seem fairly simple. You know,
Mhm.
they isolate specifically one of the stairwells and cameras that you can tell is within their network. And there is when you first arrive there, you know, you don't see anybody waiting.
Bite's gonna try and be sneaky and put his hood up.
All right, I need to.
The disguise hat.
You got a hat?
That's
Why
excellent.
did you get a hat?
All right. So after you've arrived at the stairwell, though, like you hear a voice, feminine. It says, "Put your hands on the wall."
Oh no.
And Bite was never seen nor heard from again.
Puts his hands up. Listen, we're not exactly from here, but we're not bad guys either.
You called yourself a friend, but we don't know you yet. That there's a hand that goes to the back of the neck. It's not squeezing or anything. It's just holding, and you can feel the other hand is starting to do a search. So,
Bite, you hear again. Just relax. You tense up. They'll tense up.
You just hear. You just hear back. I'm a hacker. I don't do this stuff. I don't do people. I do computers. I do AI.
Bite, that's why I'm with you. Just relax.
Okay.
The fact that he was just like, I do computers. I'm like, I know it's a special interest, but I didn't know it went that far.
We broke Maiko.
I'm sorry.
the search is very thorough. Like, it's neither like trying to take advantage. Does that make sense? But they're not shy either.
Yeah.
Like, there is no, you know, privacy as far as they're concerned. And afterwards, there's also a scan that's like run over that, you know, picks out where your data slot is and everything like that. They pull everything you're carrying, like in a pocket or anywhere, and put it like on like a small shelf that's nearby.
Mm-hmm.
Until you're in nothing but clothes.
Oh, thank God.
And then run, you know, the scanner itself, or like a small like hand scanner, like over your body close enough that if you had anything internal that was metallic or something like that, it would probably be going off. You've seen those kind of scanners before. They're fairly old tech by what you were used to, but
Yeah.
you recognize the technology of it. It's basically a handheld metal detector. But
yeah, look, would just be going off the second you get even close to him.
But they pull the scanner up and they flick a setting on it and then say, "What ship do you serve on?"
Proxima Icarus.
The Proxima Icarus.
You see, like on the screen, there's like a little like squiggle that appears, and it's beneath it. It says baseline established. And say, what are you doing traveling with one of the SBS clones?
He's not with them.
When did he defect?
I don't know.
And you keep seeing your answers like they come across with like the same squiggle of like you're guessing it's a lie detector of some kind.
Yeah.
What's your interest in Swan?
I used to be a part of Rebellion, and I know how much of help I can be.
Are you volunteering or are you mercenary?
Volunteering. I probably the farthest thing from mercenary. If the word could ever get out of my mouth.
It would be easier if you were a mercenary. And she steps back and she's like, you can turn around and get your things. She's a very like unassuming woman. Like it would be hard to, fairly average height, doesn't look to be extremely well built. The only thing that really distinguishes them is that they carry themselves with a lot of certainty. But you wouldn't be able to pick them out as, like extremely attractive or unattractive. And you might have passed them 3 times already and in the station. So there's a problem with this one right now. Things were getting too hot on the station. She can't be seen planet side. She moved to the orbital ruin that's circling the planet. She says, but the SBS just dispatched some scavengers there. It's a safe base, but it's quickly going to become not so safe.
Might ask her how to get us a permit to scavenge that location.
Do you know of a way to get us a permit to the... I don't know. I don't remember the name. Sorry. The scavenge.
The ruin?
Yes.
You've got a ship large enough to haul it into safe orbit. We could probably set up a legitimate contract to look like that would be the purpose.
Then tell them that we can help get Swan out of there with our ship.
We can get the Swan out of there with our ship.
The towing is what would give the cover to get close enough to do that. If you have a crew that's capable of it, then Swan would be the one making arrangements. But it's something that we would appreciate. And we would be willing to do you a favor in kind if we could.
Get us the permits, we'll get you Swan.
If you can get us the permits, we can get you the Swan.
That can be done.
Okay. I'm not very good at this, honestly. I don't know how to leave.
Get dressed and leave.
If I need to send a message to you, I'll post it on the board to Nightingale.
Okay. Just take stuff and like
Bite,
put stuff back.
bite. Act
Mhm.
with all the confidence in the world. Pretend that you're on whatever computer you're used to using, and that's the only thing that matters.
It gets back on his data slab and just kind of walks out like, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. This is totally not. I don't know what I.
Don't come back to the cafe. Go back to the ship.
Okay, just tell everybody that I'm going back to the ship. I'm gonna go hang out in communications and listen to music with Atlas for a bit.
Text a message to Booker. Bite is on the way back to the ship. Think might go with you. Get there before Bite does.
Understood. Thank you, Gerard.
That's what I'm here for, right?
Theodore
And-
sends a message to the cryptics. It's like, wow, that got through a lot faster than I expected.
I didn't catch the
Right.
last part.
That got through a lot faster than I expected. We've got the permits.
Excellent. We'll see you back at the ship. And Booker is just kind of carrying Maiko off with him because I'm imagining it'd be a little difficult to pull small, excited, vibrating person off from their coffee.
Micro.
What? Sorry, I'm so sorry.
Caffeine dump already.
It's the caffeine crash.
It is. What did?
If you're having a caffeine crash, you're just being held like a small child that's fallen asleep. Okay, come on. You gotta go back.
That works.
All right.
She's still trying to chatter too. It's like a wind-up doll that's like almost out of juice.
Yeah, the right as you're about to leave, the waitress, who seemed very charmed, offers like a small box to you.
Oh, good!
Like
it's goodies to bring home to my friends.
She's like, I just want to make sure you had it, something you remembers by. You definitely are the cutest thing we've had come into this place in a long time.
I love you too.
Don't eat all of those at once.
Okay.
Booker turns and quickly goes, "How much do we owe you?"
Just like 7 credits.
All right, here's 20. And just hands them and just starts walking out.
Yeah.
Gerard's going to stay behind in the cafe for about 15, 20 minutes watching for anybody that follows them out.
Do you think the majority of the following is being done either through it's a combination of like physical relay, as in, there's somebody who watches but doesn't physically follow, but then sends a message ahead to the next person, as opposed to somebody actually trailing. Does that make sense? It's extremely discreet, and doesn't require a lot of like movement on their part. So
yeah, but my delay will also make sure that I'm not being tagged as following directly behind them either.
Right. It doesn't look like there's anybody set to follow after them by the time that you're leaving. Go ahead.
So he's like keeping his distance, but he's not like looking like he's keeping his distance, is what I'm hearing.
He's flying casual, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And very shortly, everybody can be back to the ship. The whatever spy network they have aboard seems to be both well established and well coordinated, and has been in operation for some time.
Bite on your way back to the ship. Just look into 1 or 2 shops, do some window shopping, take your time.
Oh, okay. And as anxious as he already is, he'll just randomly Just as he's still on his data pad, just walk into a store, walk out, walk in, walk.
Can we help you?
No, just new. Goes back.
Yeah. Maiko definitely probably actually gets the most looks out of anybody.
Being carried off by a
just
Booker.
by virtue of being Sonian.
Oh, there's that too.
Yeah. Booker does stop at one very small vending machine and just goes, okay, I haven't had one of these in a while. Clicks them, and then just grabs a hamburger and just keeps walking.
I was half expecting a super ball. The bouncy balls.
No, the SBS specialty for most of the vending machines seems to be like small constructible toys that you can like put together. It makes a little plastic robot or something.
Kinder toys.
Yeah. Booker gets one of those because Maiko, I'm assuming, gets very giddy about those.
She does get. I don't know that she's capable of being giddy right now with the caffeine crash and everything, but I think she tries.
That all right. This is just an imagination of caffeine crash. Booker, if you don't get me that, I'll never forgive you.
I need that, Booker. I need it.
All right, so back aboard the ship. They haven't, refueled or anything like that. The central contacts a little bit after everybody is aboard. Say, we understand that you've got a contract for hauling the orbital station.
Yes, we do.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Booker that is on screen. It's like, we can save your birthing station if you'd like. If you're planning on going planetside after that to do some trading, then we'll set it aside for somebody else.
We plan to go planetside after this. Thank you for the kind offer.
Sure thing. Shop SBS for all of your fuel and food needs before you leave the system.
Understood. And what designation what is your designation, if I can ask, just so we can give a beneficial survey. Thank you. I was going to say report.
He says Frank.
Just Frank?
He says, well, Frank 3178 says, but that's the service designation.
All right. Thank you very much. You stay safe out there.
Yeah, this job is real dangerous.
I'll be right back.
Good thing.
Booker toys for a moment of going, have you not heard about the new case of space monkeypox that's been going through the systems? He goes, no, probably not. Let's not do that.
Given that there's an actual epidemic some 2 systems away.
Yeah, not his problem.
You guys can, make scans of like the orbital systems. It does look like there's a group of small shuttles that are on the way towards it from a larger, control shuttle, or from a larger scavenging ship.
Mike, can you set up a hailing frequency with the scavenging ship?
Yeah, easy. And he'll do that immediately.
We're going to let them know that we're going to be towing the orbiting station into a more safe area to scavenge.
All right.
So to avoid having their ships in while we're doing so would be the wisest choice for everyone.
All right, hailing now.
Yeah. The face that comes up is definitely much more like grizzled and veteran, and not a Booker for once. And they like you hailed us.
Greetings, Captain. We are just here to inform you that we have been tasked with towing the station out of crashing orbit. We have been tasked with towing the orbital station to an area safer for you to scavenge afterwards.
I understand that thing's not going to decay into orbit for another couple of weeks. My guys are going to be done scavenging the place in 24 hours.
I understand that, sir. I understand that, Captain. However, it would be safest for everyone if, while we're towing it, it gives you the extra time that you can take to muddle around and pad the expenses a bit, as well as just to take your ships away while we're towing it. If you'd be so kind.
He's like, fine, he says, but he says, if we see any shuttles, he says, heading for that station, he says, I'm gonna instruct my boys, he says, to shoot first and ask questions later. He says, we paid SBS through the nose for that scavenging license.
I understand, sir. Thank you for your cooperation. But maybe send a message to those people that they're going to need to be careful going in.
Okay. And he'll put on the message board, there are scavengers headed to the site, I guess.
It's more the scavengers will shoot first and ask questions later if the shuttle goes towards the station.
Yeah.
However, we should be able to. Might be able to get away with when we're physically towing it. Just setting that up.
Mm-hmm.
And when we unhook ourselves, we should be able to leave with. We should hopefully be able to leave with Swan.
Mm-hmm.
Without too much of an issue with the scavengers.
They really think we're gonna steal their salvage from them.
Well, we're stealing something from them.
Are we, though?
Liberating, let's say. Let's just think about how much SBS would be paying them through the nose if they could get the leader of a rebellion.
Bite, I'm gonna have you make another programming roll for the sensors check.
$14.
Okay. The scavenging ship is definitely keeping every sensor they have trained on your approach. They're also doing some other interesting things with communication jammers that you wouldn't expect somebody who is scavenging an empty ruin to be doing.
They know.
All right.
If you could potentially do countermeasures to block their jamming, but
Yeah.
that would almost certainly alert them. And it probably means that any communications you're trying to make to the station are not getting through.
Okay.
The station itself or the orbiting station?
To the station in decline, the one that you're doing the towing at.
The ruin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any messages we're sending to the ruin aren't getting through then?
Yeah.
There's no way we can essentially triple encrypt them to slip through that, can we?
Essentially, what you could do a countermeasure to it and allow communications to get through, but it would alert the scavenging team that you're doing that. It would alert the scavenging ship that you're doing that.
All right.
What about using a different kind of transmission as like a carrier wave for a message?
They would have to know that they're getting that. The person who's receiving it would have to know that they're going to be receiving it in order to decrypt it. It's like you could do stuff with Morse code and a light if they knew that that's what the transmission was going to be.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Booker is planning something that may or may not work. To be able to tow the ship, we were going to need to attach a physical anchor to it.
Mm-hmm.
And to attach that physical anchor, it would make most sense for us to send a shuttle out along with the anchor to make sure it is attached as properly as possible, or at least we can use that as an excuse.
Logo says I would normally send a droid with
Well,
the
we're not
magnetic
gonna
line to connect it.
And-
And I have droids that would be small enough to be able to enter the station itself without detection.
Would one of us be able to enter the station without much detection? One or maybe two of us.
I have a droid that is potentially small enough that I could hide Michael within it.
Well, so what if we use the droid to tell them to check their messages, kind of thing, and we can communicate that way?
That would be the easiest way.
So basically, we send the droid over, tell them to check their DMs, explain maybe which DM to check. How are you?
We're going to need to get them onto the shuttle along with that droid when it detaches.
Well,
That's the hard part, is getting them back. Is there one just big enough for me, I guess, since I'm the contact?
well, wait, we don't have to do that. We can just...
No, we just need one that's large enough for them to get into.
Yes, we just need to convey to them what we're doing, and then we send over our droid that's perhaps big enough for them to get in, and if they know what needs to be done, then we don't have to send anybody over there. We can just send a droid, and in theory, that's going to be hidden a little bit better.
Send a droid with a message.
It would be the droid carrying the message and enough space in it within itself to
Right.
hide Swan.
Is that doable, Logos?
Allow me to do some calculations. Without knowing the specific parameters of the Swan, it would be very difficult to fabricate something both large enough for them and small enough to avoid notice. However, it would be possible to attach the magnetic pull in such a way that it could be in an area that would be easily broken off
Oh.
and be large enough that they could be hidden within it.
But won't they think we're stealing their salvage that way?
If they believe that I do not believe that they are truly interested in the salvage.
I don't think so either, and I'm wondering if we can engineer an accident. What if we send over a tow cable that we go to attach and it breaks off, and then we have to retrieve that piece of our tow cable and try again? Do you follow?
I do. I can also engineer the droid to cause some damage inside of the station while it's there, so that a specific portion of the station breaks off or are intact.
I don't think they're interested in the salvage, but I worry that taking a piece of the station will give them an excuse to dive in.
That is possible.
I want it to be a part of our ship, or a part of our equipment. I want them not to have an excuse to accuse us of stealing, because under that accusation, they can search our ship. And then she's gonna glance around at everybody and be like, "Am I talking too much again?"
No, you're making sense.
Logo says, Michael, how much time would you need to fabricate a small vehicle that could be put inside of one of the cargo containers?
We have enough spare parts that it would take me number hours. Easy.
He says, if you're willing to begin that, he says we could put it inside of the cargo container, hide the magnetic systems within the container, and deploy the entire thing onto the station. It would look like an enormous magnetic clam, perhaps oversized, but we are of a size enough that it would be a believable ruse. And then we can use the vehicle itself to drill into the station and extract the swan that way.
Here's hoping the swan isn't a gargantuan species.
So if the swan is willing to listen.
That's outside of our control.
Logos, is there a way that I can maybe hack their system and just scramble it? Not?
There is ECM scrambling that could be done in order to do anything more extensive inside of the salvage ship. You would need a line shunt, basically a physical connection inside of the ship. If you're talking about the orbital ruin itself, that could be done with the line shunt, but I don't believe the power is running through much of the system. And Michael, Logos is pulling up some engineering schematics for you and stuff like that. Like I need something of this shape and size, and it's required for fabrication.
Maiko's gonna just very gently tap Booker on the shoulder and be like, "Can you pull me down?" I'm better
Yeah,
now.
sorry, I forgot that you were still on my shoulder.
I'm better now. Thank you. So Maiko's gonna work on fabricating the shuttle that doesn't look like a shuttle. She's gonna name it the Trojan Horse.
All right. I'll have you do a fixed roll just to make sure that everything's, working properly.
Oh, right. We have dice in this game.
we do get a little theater of the mind, but I don't mind.
I don't mind that at all. I was just like, oh yes, that thing.
Gerard, a question about your psychic abilities, since I don't
Yes.
know. Are you capable of contacting somebody within a certain distance, even if you can't see them?
That's what I was kind of double checking here. The forethought would allow me to if I've already made telepathic contact with them.
Right.
Otherwise, yeah, the target must be visible or otherwise perceivable to me. Target must be visible or otherwise perceivable to the telepath's unaided senses. So I can't do it through a communicator.
Okay.
It also sounds like you wouldn't be able to do it through binoculars.
No.
Okay.
As
Just
I said
double
earlier, yeah, direct visual.
Yeah, I believe that's an upgrade that you can do later on now, that you can potentially purchase. It's just like, I feel a mind in the vicinity. Is that right?
Yeah, I think it's a third level, level 3 or higher one.
I know by level 4 they can contact anybody in a sector. Like, hello.
Yes. Hello. Now the ship or vehicle that we're sending over, is it just large enough for one individual?
It's like an entire cargo container that's housing a vehicle inside of it. So It could potentially have far more than that. I mean, you guys could have an entire team in there if you wanted to, but it's not necessary. And the downside is that if you add people who have thermal imaging or who have thermal resonances and they've got body heat and stuff like that, that is something that can be scanned for, whereas a vehicle is cold.
Right.
I think I did that right. Except I dropped the lowest, right?
Yes.
So
that's a 12.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so you've got it put together. You've got, a small army of support as well now. You've got Tobias to do the heavy lifting, and see, the moment you have the welding torch, there seems to be a number of the Okar people as well that kind of get interested in what you're doing, since you're wielding fire to do it. Gerard is also probably the one who's going to take notice of this. Maiko has learned the entire language in the last 2 weeks, or at least enough to speak it fluently, without telepathic tricks or anything like that. She's just picked it up.
Good.
The rest of us rely on communicators.
Yeah, everybody else has a translation torque that has like a couple seconds delay. So, but yeah, you quickly have an assembled vehicle. It's moved into position. You know, all the magnetic stuff is set up. Logos is the one handling the actual, angling and everything like that.
I don't suppose we have anything like a submission suit.
Submission suit. What do you mean by that?
Something that would suppress my or an individual's heat signature or bodily functions from a scan.
I don't believe they have anything like that in the armory. And it doesn't mean it's outside of the powers of Micro to fabricate, but it would need more time than you guys have.
Right.
This is.
I'm just thinking somebody should go over to explain what's going on.
Gerard? If any of this musing is done out loud, Booker would essentially just be asking, do you have a drug that might be able to lower my body heat for a period of time? Considering I'm already half mechanical, it might be easier for me, let's say.
The problem with that, Booker, is, as we've already established, the first thing you're going to see is that you're a clone.
Yeah, that's the issue I'm coming into, too.
And Might, I don't think, could handle something like this. Or might go, it should be me.
All right.
But that's a good point I hadn't thought of. Do we have anything in the medical bay that would help lower body temperature?
You have some things that could probably, it's not going to get it all the way down, but so long as the compartment of the container was flooded with heat beforehand, by the time your heat would have been discernible because it'd been out in the black, it should already be at the station.
Can I tinker with it? And because I assume these suits have like a what do you call it? An efficiency thing where they try to be as closed of a system as possible. Is there any way I can ramp that up to try to conserve heat and whatnot inside the suit?
You could potentially do a combination of making some alterations to a regular vac suit and Gerard taking some drugs to lower his temperature and stuff like that, such that it should provide decent stealth against scanners. They're still going to have an opposed roll, you know what I'm saying? But I'm going to give you guys rolls to give him a benefit. Gerard, in your case, it'll be the no roll or the heal roll for right amount of medication to not send yourself into a coma. And for Michael, it'll be another fix roll.
And these are on intelligence, right?
Yes.
Good, because that's what I was using.
Good? No, I don't think I have enough to be able to give any sort of...
11.
I can't give stealth tips for how to maintain your body temperature underneath this much, or how to get your heartbeat to only beat so fast.
Nothing that's not going to be it's not going to be used to Gerard. He's got a medical degree. He's gonna.
No, I know. My thing is all, and this is what you do to your cybernetic arm to make sure that your heart beats at 1/5 the speed it usually does.
So we got a 10 on the heal check and a
11.
11.
Yep, 11 on the. Okay. That's gonna be a, it's probably as efficient as you're gonna be able to make it. You guys are in position to launch. There hasn't been any additional communications from the scavenging team.
They're just watching closely.
Yeah. Logos does most of the manipulation to aim and make sure that it's in the appropriate spot. Now that you're close enough to actually be doing thermal scans yourself, but if there's a survivor on the ship, they're obviously going to be in a warmer section of the orbital one. So I want you to go ahead and make 2 programming rolls. They're just sensor operation.
I don't know. Part of this is my job. I'm just. Booker is struggling considering there's nothing he can be useful for in this situation.
I got 8 twice.
Picking up which part of the thermos the station is, thermal, gives a very easy, like, we need to hit here. And it also picks up the 8 different heat signatures that are in the station moving through it. Booker, you can immediately make out the tactics of, like kill teams. They're not scavenging. They're not looking for something. They're clearing corners. They're being careful.
Oh, so the scavengers that are okay. Yeah.
There
are scavengers already on the station.
Yes.
Yeah, this is not a salvage mission.
No. Rod, you sure you can handle this on your own?
And
I'm gonna have.
So just
I'm gonna have to.
The second roll is actually realizing that you're close enough to tap into whatever feeds are on board the station. There's no video feed, but there is an audio line. And it's quiet for and then you begin to hear the like pop, pop, pop of gunfire.
Yeah, I'm imagining he's doing this with his headphones in, and then he hears the pop, 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 and he goes, shots fired down there.
And that's where we're going to close it for today. I want to thank everybody for coming out. I have forgotten to do this the last few times, so I want to go around and give everybody the chance to tell people how to get a hold of them. So what socials you're on and where else they can see you. So we'll start with Bite and we'll just work our way across.
Literally don't have the stuff up.
Yeah, give me a second too. I'm pulling up mine.
Yeah, you surprised us.
Sorry. Yeah, I know I've been bad about it. I've been meaning to give you guys credit and then I just caught up in the game. So
I'll go first.
Yes, please do.
I'll go first. I can usually be found on Dirty 20 Gaming either tomorrow or next week, depending on the internet gods. We will be firing up a Buffy campaign, which I'm super excited for. We've got... What else do I do? I'm here on Wednesdays. We just rebooted our Mine of Fandelver. What's it called? Mine of Fandelver Party. And now we are sudden heroes in a much less friendly environment than Lost Mine of Fandelver. There's like war and stuff. So that's interesting. Sometimes I'm here on Fridays. Usually I'm here on Sundays and body, if not in spirit. And I can be found on Twitter as well. Blaze of Gloriosa, all over the place.
I was gonna say, aren't you in the Friday game as well?
I'm not. I had to not. I had a conflict.
No. Okay.
I know, it was so sad. I was like, oh no. I will be in a future Sherwood. Like, I told Kevin to expect a Gloriosa. Expect me. Because I will be playing in Sherwood. That should have been enough time for somebody else to go.
Yeah,
Well, if you still want to go straight across, mine will be easy because I don't have links. So you can also see me Tuesday nights in the Deadlands, The Last Hurrah of Honest John as Lester Moore.
His last hurrah is super long, by the way. Like, I don't know if he's got some pipes on him, some lungs, or what.
No, he's just a crafty, devious SOB, and he will get his in the end.
Soon.
And then Thursday nights on Deviant Futures, I am Wuja. And of course, here on Sundays. I'm also one of the founders of DDR, the Desperate Dice Rollers. We are on Discord. I do not have a link for you folks. I'm going to try and get that for the next time. where I run a Wednesday night campaign and a Friday learners campaign that has been going on for about a year now. So Monday nights right now are my only nights that I'm not gaming, and that may be changing soon too.
All
That
right.
doesn't sound like a terrible fate.
Weirdly, I can go because I finally set up one social thing that I've got. Hi, I play Booker. I'm also known as the Scarred Adventurer on Dirty 20 Gaming, where I also play on Thursdays as Hati, the wolf man hybrid sort of thing of Norse mythology. That is not actually a wolf man thing in that, but I'm just complicating things by talking. I'm also the writer, director, actor, and creator of a fun project called Bravely Broken over at Tangor Productions. You can find us on our Instagram Instagram. You can find us on Instagram at bravely_broken, where you will see one of our newest members come out and help us do a lot more social media stuffs. And he's kind of grumpy that I haven't brought him up until now. But after having been on camera, he seems to be feeling better. Yeah. So get ready to see the Avocad, which is currently what I'm calling him because he's both a cad and he's Canadian. CAD. Haha. Yes, I'm very funny. Anyways, please check us out with Bravely Broken stuff, and I'm looking forward to seeing as many of you there when it is ready to come out. But there is going to be some more social media stuff coming soon-ish. I'm going to start trying to get onto that.
Okay, I guess it's my turn now. Hi, my name's Sarah. I play Bite. I run Tangor Productions over on YouTube. I'm also working on Bravely Broken as basically everything that Scar just said.
Oh, same thing I'm doing, yeah.
Yeah. And now I have to pull up the list of games that I'm in. Because
I heard a rumor that you're the person that's in the most shows on Dirty 20.
I really wouldn't be surprised.
I believe that also includes Kevin, so I think you've surpassed Bison, and I think you've surpassed Kevin. Oh no, I've made her turtle.
If there's a day of the week that she's not playing, it's going to be weird because it's going to be one day you don't see her.
I'm not on Monday yet, because I run DV Futures on Thursday. I play in the Tuesday game. I play in the Friday game, and I'm here on Sunday.
So what I'm hearing is that we need a guest role for you on Monday.
Technically, there's 2 nights a week that I'm not here.
You're like, I need a break from you people sometimes.
All right. Thanks everyone for coming out. And we're glad to have everyone here for our campaign. If you're watching on YouTube, please smash that like and subscribe button. Everyone, please be nice to one another, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.